would like to tell a few words about yourself and work you do.
Okay, my name is David McAdam Freud. I work as a visual artist. I'm from a family of artists. My mother, Catherine McAdam, um, and my father, Lucian Freud, both artists. And my brother and two sisters are both artists. And the whole family have sort of been professional artists, I suppose. I started off in a commercial background, wanting to kind of rebel and not be an artist, and I did quite well. But eventually, I realised that my life wasn't about commerce, and so I sold the companies that I built up and their goodwill, and I started again as an artist at sort of age, I suppose, eight years ago now. And I'm just completing my second solo show. And they took enough money on the sort of first. Well, it's been extremely successful, and I think I left it long enough so that sort of my work got to a level where it was, it was decent and kind of saleable before I started actually, trying to sell my work commercially. And it's going from it's going really well.
How would you define you as an artist?
I don't. I wouldn't define myself. I think it's up to other people to define me. But I would hope that they would. If I kind of look at myself as an artist, the only thing that I want to be is honest. And if I start feeling like I'm bullshitting or like I'm copying someone else's style, or then I draw back and just stop doing it and sort of go into myself until I come out with something that I think is honest I try not to worry too much about the sort of the narrative of the work or how it might be interpreted. I try to just concentrate on am I being honest, and am I really feeling these thoughts, and am I expressing what I feel.
So what media do you use?
I started off with acrylic on canvas and all sorts of different things, and built up once I got used to sort of using the materials and the brushes and whatever. Then I invested in decent oil paints and decent canvas and sort of learned about longevity and started kind of practicing in order to sort of to maintain some longevity, because people are paying a lot of money for the work. You don't want it to fall apart. But I haven't. I've made sure I haven't sort of learned about kind of how to paint this, or how I've deliberately avoided learning how to create art. But I have picked up how to produce stuff that will last, and that's what I'm interested in is expressing my emotions, but not kind of learning to paint a great picture sort of thing. I'm not bothered about sort of the different ways of measuring what you're looking at and making that go onto a canvas. It's completely the antithesis of art as far as I'm concerned.
Well, what themes are you interested in?
Themes.
In your work, or maybe in a field of exploration.
Well, I suppose in the end, sort of, I'm the only theme. It's kind of my feelings about my environment, or my feelings full stop, are the theme. I try to. I want my art to be personal to me. I want it to be personal to the viewer as well. But I don't want to kind of to be prescriptive about the message that they get.
But is it autobiographical? Is it self?
Not in a narrative sense, not in a conscious sense. It's autobiographical in that it's a result of me feeling what I do, it's my life sort of, and I suppose that's given me my feelings. But I'm not trying to create a narrative sort of like a diary of paintings. But I suppose that's what it is in the end. If it's good, if the paintings are good and they're honest and they are a result of sort of what I'm feeling about my environment, then I think that is what they are. Yeah.
Do you do kind of visual research during your projects?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. If I'm painting nature or when I'm outside, I am totally obsessed by the way the shadows change in the clouds and the light on the leaves of the trees and how the number of leaves kind of change. But yeah, my research is sort of from the source material rather than sort of from somebody else's idea of what it might be.
Well, okay, but how does it work with you? Do you collect items from the surroundings, or maybe you just have like a sketchbook? Do you use a photography during your research?
I've tried. I mean, I thought I could use photography, to help me. My last exhibition was portraits, and I thought I could sort of take photographs of the sitters, and then like they could go away, and I could carry on working on the portrait from the photograph, but I can't. The only thing I can do from the photograph is kind of make a copy of sort of because you don't get a feeling, or the feeling you get from a photograph is so different from the feeling you get from a real person. But you can't combine the two. Like you could do a painting of a photograph or a painting of a person, but you couldn't do a painting of a person and then fill in some gaps with bits that have come out of a photograph. The way I paint, I can't do that anyway. Emily, come here, you're making noise and we're filming this. So it's an interview. You can sit quietly with me. Or you can go downstairs, whatever you prefer.
The next question will be about your idols. Have you got your favorite artist you admire, or you take an inspiration from them, from their maybe visual point of view,
Don't touch that, baby.
or maybe from their processes, or maybe something else?
You have to go downstairs.
Why?
Because we're filming this as an interview. You have to go down to see Debbie, and I'll come down as soon as it's finished. I love you.
When will it be finished?
10 minutes.
10. That's not long, is
Not
it?
long. Right, Poppy. Do you want to ask it again?
Yeah. Next question will be about your idols. Have you got some favorite artists you admire? Maybe you take some inspiration from them, from like visual point of view, or maybe from their processes they use, or maybe there's something else like ideas or ideology.
I don't have specific ones. I don't think all artists either affect me by I look at their stuff and I'm kind of surprised because I don't feel something, or I look at their stuff and I just driven to go and make something and I just feel very jealous that they've made it and not me, and I'm frustrated by that sort of I'm kind of motivated and frustrated by sort of looking at it and it having so much power and sort of it just makes me want to go and produce something myself, but I don't. There aren't specific particular artists that do it sort of more than others. They either do it and I'm kind of enraged by it to the point of really feeling frustrated and like I want to run out of the gallery and kind of really start start doing something myself, or it doesn't do that. But there are ones that kind of do it a huge amount more than others.
When they're not artists, maybe there are some your favorite pieces of art you you admire, or maybe it was something that you
No,
saw
not in any-
something and it changed your point of view, or maybe it changed your practice or your approach to it.
Not in any real sort of meaningful way. I mean, any like I could only pick some in that I can pick a favourite colour or a favourite number, but no. Art has always been something that's been part of my life and my childhood. It was just something that you use as like a massage, or kind of a mental, just a way of looking at things and a way of getting over things, and just a part of part of your sort of emotional toolkit. Is sort of, you do art, sort of in order to kind of take a little step back from the world and kind of create an alternative world through which you can kind of get closer to your environment.
Okay. And could you tell us how do you approach galleries with your work, or if you or how does it work with you? Of course.
With me, I'm on my second sort of solo show at a gallery. I've never approached a gallery. I've always sort of allowed the fates to conspire, and if I feel like it's all happened naturally, and sort of I've been introduced to the right person through a friend, or when they've said, oh, I'd like to have you in the gallery, then that's then I feel like that could be right. Maybe I've been lucky in that I haven't had to sort of go and sort of try and push myself onto people, but I've also been manipulated the environment in the way that I've taken opportunities. I haven't said, oh, well, I'm really shy, or I'm not ready for a show. When the right opportunities come up, and I've thought, oh, I trust this person, and they've offered me a chance, I have gone for it and really sort of made sure I've turned the work out and got it there, but I felt happy about doing it, because I felt like it's fate that has made it happen, rather than me sort of
fate and luck, probably.
Fate and luck, and kind of it's sort of meant to be. So it's sort of freed me up during the art making process. It hasn't been like, oh, I've gone to someone with an idea and sold it to them, and then I kind of feel like, oh, I have to stick to this idea in order to approach this kind of particular marketplace, or because that would, for art to flow through, that would be quite difficult.
So you rather prefer freedom in
well, kismet and chance have got something to do with it, and luck. But sort of, when I'm producing, my first show was about the death of my father. It was supposed to be about something else, or well, whatever was going to come up. I was discussing it with the gallery, what it was going to be about, and talking about different paintings that I was making. And then my dad died, and so it was obvious that sort of all I was feeling at the time was grief and mourning, whatever, and so that was the obvious thing to do that about. And then so we had to do all of the the National Portrait Show, National Portrait Gallery. He did a big exhibition that was sort of like a memorial type thing, and sort of and I was surrounded by all of those paintings, his and others, at the National Portrait Gallery for a while. So portraits seemed to be the obvious thing to do. But I mean, almost the natural thing to do would have been to go, well, you can't do portraits because it's like copying your dad. Your dad's doing portraits and you're doing portraits, and that could attract a lot of criticism. But it's the brave thing to do. So, and the obvious thing to do, and the honest thing to do, you know, for me, is just kind of do that, you know, sort of, and attract criticism. I mean, isn't that what an artist's supposed to do? So.
So you're saying that you do not promote yourself to the galleries, and they just find you on their own. Does it work like that?
Well, for me it has, and it's partly luck. I mean, I had a lodger that used to stay in this room here, which is now my studio, and a guest room when I'm not when we've got guests and we need another bedroom. He was working locally, doing some care work, and he did a bit of art. He went and helped someone raise some money for charities and the church. And this someone has a gallery in Oxford, and he chose to employ him as a manager of one of his other galleries in Whitney outside Oxford. And then he came round for dinner and he said, "Oh, your paintings are great. You're getting much better. You are actually better than some of the artists that we have in the gallery." And you know, and then he got his boss to kind of, you know, call up and me to go and show him some things, and we got on. He said, "Yeah, we do want you to have a show."
Okay.
And so it just happened naturally.
And it's not like an avalanche, probably. From that point.
From that point, yeah. I mean, I have had lots of other galleries kind of send emails and say, you know, could you show? But I mean, there's no. If you don't have a relationship with somebody, as far as I'm concerned, then you have to build one first before you can allow them to represent you, because they're creating. You know, then it's not just like a shop retailing your work to.
It's more emotional.
Yeah, well, they're creating the drama of the artist. They're representing you in a particular way. They're sort of, because there's the person who creates the work, and there's the sort of artist, or you know, the whatever you call it, the kind of, you know, the legend of that person that is kind of promoted, or you know, through PR or whatever, which is a separate thing. But as with any personality, you know, by the time it's gone through the media, it's quite different. And I think, you know, I just try to be, you know, kind of honest, but you know, I realise that you have to protect your customers, as it were, from the business that I've kind of, you know, done, the commerce I've done before. You know, I feel like I have a duty to protect the customers, their investment in the artworks that they've purchased from me, by sort of by conducting myself in an orderly manner and just being vaguely professional with the image that's being constructed, and you know, not being not sort of doing things that are going to be detrimental to my vocation.
Last question is, my last question would be about your current work. Could you tell a few words about it, about maybe some features? What is it different from the previous one?
Right.
Are there something new things,
Okay.
or is it like a continuation?
Well, the first solo show was an emotional reaction to the death of my father. You know, so the pictures made themselves out of my emotions. The second show was portraits, which was basically you know, paintings representing my feelings about the person who is sitting in front of me, and sort of conjuring an alternative version of that person that could speak to the viewer. And the next show is going to be more narrative paintings. That's my current idea of what it is at the moment. Going to be So I have an idea about sort of representing a scientific theory through a painting. I have another painting which I've started already, which is representing a sort of a cultural battle and cultural ideology and point of view through a painting, which is two artist friends of mine, Damien and Delane Labasse, and they're Romany artists, and so I've painted them with their caravan and with their sort of representing their separate artistic styles. So you have the narrative about the relationship between the two, and about them being outside and the sort of their version of nature through their art, and sort of their version of nature that is sort of represented through the culture, and so it sort of tells a story. And I have three other ideas which are sort of narrative based, and I'm sort of seeing how they develop. A lot of the stuff ends up in the bin, halfway through it I realise it's starting to look obvious or kind of too considered, and it isn't, if it isn't naturally making itself, the painting, if it isn't sort of fantastic, look, kind of surprising me, then I give up on it. Saying I only like to sort of continue to paint when I'm surprising myself through the paint, and the materials are kind of talking to me. It's a relationship between me and my materials.
Could you give an example? Is it an emotional surprise, or is it more technical?
Well, when I'm painting, I have the relationship between me and the materials is very close, and I am and I can't see the wood for the trees. I'm in amongst the forest with my materials, and they're a part of me, and I sort of I leave the painting exhausted or whatever, have a sleep, come back to it, and I want to feel surprised by it. Well, I hope that I feel surprised by it. If I come back to it and I feel bored or ashamed by it, then it goes in the bin. If I feel like it's talking to me, and the process has managed to come up with these, and I think, that is there because of I can find a narrative in my head. Then I know that other people will be able to find a narrative. It doesn't have to be the same one that I'm finding, but I can see that there's something happening, and there's a sort of subconscious at work building a message which is sort of being said, and it and for me that is sort of valid. It's like having a dream, or having it's like having a conscious thought. If you were to have a conscious thought and translate that into a painting, that would be called propaganda. It's called art if you're doing it without attempting. So you're doing it through your relationship with the materials, not because of your relationship with an ideology.
So it's next exhibition where we'll be able to see it.
Well, they're talking. The Oxford Gallery is talking about having a link to one of the London galleries that are interested, and so it would be shown in London and Oxford. And we haven't decided on a date because I haven't told them an idea of when I'm likely to have 5 pieces of work ready, which is what they want.
Okay. I think that's it, David.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Very, very helpful.
Great. Yeah. No, I think you've got some good bits. Yeah, some good bits. And Emily coming up was quite a good bit, although she interrupted a lovely question that you'd put, but I'm sure you can still use that.